The Association of Major Emerging Economies seek to assert its voice as a counterweight to Western dominance in global affairs, particularly currency. So the BRICS nations, who are they? Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, representing a quarter of the global economy, and the interest in joining the club has surged ahead of its three-day summit in Johannesburg. Let's take a listen to some of the heads of state.
We know we have a big challenge of payments in Africa. We have 42 currencies. So if you are in Kenya, you want to trade with somebody who is in Ghana, you have to use a third currency for intra-Africa trade. You will have heard President Ruto a few weeks ago saying, when Kenya trades with Djibouti, why is the dollar involved? Two African countries trading using a third currency. And so we've introduced the Pan-African Payments and Settlement System, yes, which will enable payments for trade in Africa in local currency. You will no longer have to rely on a third currency. You will no longer have to buy a third currency to trade in Africa. We certainly believe that one of the biggest constraints to trade in Africa and one of the biggest constraints and barriers to SMEs and young entrepreneurs is the cost of trade. So we want to move beyond just the trade agreement and introduce tools that will enable the trade to happen. I will mention maybe one or two other areas. The AFCFTA Adjustment Fund, for example. We have mobilized over $1 billion through Afrexim Bank because we know that there will have to be the trade finance support to enable SMEs to trade, to enable young entrepreneurs to take advantage of this market. So a market of 1.3 billion people with a combined GDP as we speak of 3.4 trillion United States dollars has the ability, as you said in your opening remarks, has the potential to enable the African continent to be globally competitive.
So he's indicated Africa is a market of around $3.4 trillion. I understand that by 2050 that will grow to between $16 and $17 trillion. Now, to give some perspective to that, China's the PCR's economy is around $17 trillion in today's terms, of course. We should also bear in mind, and I'm going to come to the trade patterns in a minute, I just want to link the two here, that's what I'm trying to do, but with our continent, the population will double also by 2050 to 2.5 billion. Yep. So from 1.3 to 2.5 billion. And this is going to be mainly young, tech-savvy consumers. They will be the productive workforce of Africa going into the future. And it is going to be and remains at present the youngest continent of any continent. So I just want to put this thing of Africa and the Africa Continental Free Trade Area and the relevance of aggregating markets, both for scale and size, in perspective. Now let me move on to the trade patterns.
Yep.
There's constantly a question, is BRICS working for South Africa? Okay. So let's look at some of the detail around that. I think firstly, no one can doubt that the trade statistics demonstrate that it is working, as are the investment flows. Okay, but let's drill down on the trade statistics, because you mentioned in a 4-year period between 2017 to 2021, South Africa realized a 44% growth with the 4 BRIC partners.
The continent as it is for Marco Polo for our company has always been an important place because essentially for what we do, which is move people, and we have been present here since the 80s. In several different countries, you can see our products and our combinations and how we manage to support many of the African cities, such as Joburg, Lagos, Accra, Abidjan, Kinshasa, Luanda, and many others. What I do believe that I could add up a little bit to this panel is a little bit about the experience that we have being present in so many countries and having to look every one of them individually from a regulatory perspective. I think this is something that the African Trade Agreement can bring to the table to really improve this this trade between the countries.
Как офис международных
the
связей
Office of
у нас есть
International
два больших направления.
Relations, we have
Первое направление – это поддержка проектов, которые
First is the support of the
заинтересованы
projects
в международной
which
экспансии.
are interested in international expansion, and this program is called Google.
В рамках этой программы
Within this program,
на этот форум,
on this
на экспо
forum
форума мы привезли 17 компаний.
we brought 17 companies
Я
to
приглашаю
this forum,
всех
and I
присутствующих
invite everybody
найти время
present here to
и
find time and
приехать на экспо
to
в Галлахер,
come to Gallagher,
где в
to
холле 2
Expo,
есть
where in
удивительный
Hall
и
2
уникальный стенд
we can
Российской
see a
Федерации,
stand or unique
где
stand of
эти
the
компании
Russian
присутствуют.
Federation where these companies
Спектр
are
этих компаний –
presented.
это
The spectrum of
топовые
these
российские
companies,
компании,
it's top Russian
их спектр
companies,
огромен.
and the spectrum is
Спектр
huge,
деятельности.
spectrum of their
Это
activities,
здравоохранение, это пищевая промышленность,
the health,
это
food,
робототехника, это образование
techniques, education,
и даже
and
индустрия дронов,
even
которая сейчас так
drone
сильно
industry,
актуальна,
which is very
в том
actual
числе для
today,
Южной Африки, с
especially
учетом
also
сельского
including
хозяйства в том числе.
South Africa for
Второе большое
agricultural
направление
reasons.
African continent has 1.2 billion people. By 2030, the total population will go to 1.7 billion. And you have a useful population. You have a lot of arid land which is not being used. Whereas India is importing a lot of pulses and other things. So I think that's another area in agriculture where you have to deploy people so that employment is created. At the same time, the land is used. Instead importing, today a lot of things are imported into this country. So it's important to see how we can deploy the youthful people, this young youth, which you have, plenty of them, they make them employable. Apart from that, you have a mineral wealth. Now what is happening is today, mineral wealth is being exported. Now also there is a say, you have 50% of the gold reserve. I think you have 100% of gold reserve. But 50% is gold, 50% in the hearts of African peoples. Especially, I see a lot of opportunities in terms of, improving skills. Now you have youth, there's no sense if they are not good in education. Important is educate them, one thing. But if the person has no interest and not able to do well, what do you do? You don't have unemployable youth, which can be a challenge for the nation. So it's very important that, start skilling. And I think this we can share from Indian example.
When it comes to Africa, this is the China Communications Construction Company is one of our biggest markets. So what we have done is implemented Chairman Xi's policy of sincerity, real results, harmony and good faith in terms of our cooperation. And therefore we are increasing the value chains propositions. And we have got a lot of comprehensive transport infrastructure that we have built. And this is basic road and other types of development. For example, we can give example of the Mauritania Friendship Aid Port situated in Africa. And another one is the Kenya the Kenyan airport highway that was constructed, the Mombasa-Nairobi rail construction project, the port of Lekki bridge that we've seen. And this has been, for the economy of Africa, a very important aspect. When it comes to this type of infrastructure, we have had a huge impact in this regard.